a meet and greet. President Joe Biden making his global presence known. He arrived in England ahead of the G7 summit, which starts today in Britain and runs through the weekend. Now, Biden already speaking with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson ahead of that summit. And joining us now to discuss from the Heritage Foundation, a former advisor to Margaret Thatcher, Nile Gardiner. Nile, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Now, President Biden is meeting with 7 countries this weekend. What other topics, aside from economic policies, do you think we can expect?
Well, I think quite a wide range of topics at the G7. I think top of the agenda certainly will be the global fight against COVID-19, with the US president announcing plans to for the G7 to send a large number of vaccines to poorer countries led by the United States. I think also you're going to see a lot of discussion about how to stand up to both China and Russia. And certainly we need to see more US leadership on this front. So far, I think Joe Biden has sent mixed, confusing messages on both the China and Russia fronts. There doesn't seem to be any coherent US strategy at the moment as far as Joe Biden is concerned with dealing with China. With regard to Russia and Vladimir Putin, I think that Joe Biden has been very weak. For example, he has refused to sanction the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, a big Russian-backed project which is undermining US allies in Eastern and Central Europe. So I have to say that Joe Biden has not exactly had a very impressive start on the international stage. After all, there were a series of revelations in the British media just a day or so ago, illustrating how the Biden administration had warned the British government over Brexit and over the UK's Northern Ireland border policy. And this, of course, has caused a lot of unhappiness in London ahead of the visit. And it's a very bad start, actually, for Joe Biden, already insulting America's closest friend and ally on the international stage. And that's not exactly, I think, the right kind of leadership coming from the United States.
And I know this is something you and I discussed just yesterday when you hinted at that. The president did meet with Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and then Biden's national security advisor says that the meeting could be more contentious than cordial. Let's take a quick listen to that.
Whatever way they find to proceed must, at its core, fundamentally protect the gains of the Good Friday Agreement and not imperil that. And that is the message that President Biden will send when he's in Cornwall.
Niall, as you were just discussing about Northern Ireland, do you think that this meeting went as expected? Do you think it will continue to go as the way you presumed just yesterday?
Well, I think that, Boris Johnson was determined to have a friendly, cordial meeting with Joe Biden. The optics from the meeting were perfectly okay, but behind the scenes, I think there were some deep-seated tensions because you had, according to reports in both the Telegraph and the Times in London, you had a meeting last week between the US charge d'affaires in London and senior British officials, where the Biden official, the senior diplomat in London, lectured the British government over its Brexit policy and made some really insulting warnings against the UK, linking a US-UK free trade agreement with the Boris Johnson administration's policy over Northern Ireland. And this is without a doubt, I think, a huge slap in the face for the United Kingdom. And so I think under the surface, there was some real tension there between Boris Johnson and Joe Biden. No love lost over the Brexit issue. A lot of the Biden team, of course, are holdovers from the earlier Obama administration. And of course, Boris Johnson was very critical of Barack Obama on some issues, including Obama's decision to remove the bust of Winston Churchill from the Oval Office. And the Biden officials remember this. And many of them, of course, don't like Boris Johnson. And so there's some tension between Team Boris and Team Biden on a number of issues.
Speaking of that, not to cut you off, Niall, speaking of that tension, though, how do you think this differs from when former President Trump was in office visiting?
Well, I think that it's a very different dynamic with President Trump in office. Of course, President Trump's visits to the UK certainly sparked immense global interest. They were quite controversial in some respects. But the reality is that President Trump always stood with the British people. He was a big supporter of Brexit, whereas Joe Biden hates Brexit. And Brexit, of course, was a huge win for freedom, for national sovereignty, for self-determination, the kind of things that Joe Biden doesn't stand for, frankly. And President Trump was a huge supporter of Brexit. He loved the US-UK special relationship, whereas Joe Biden doesn't really. Biden's not pro-British, actually. In fact, he's quite anti-British in many respects, and that's a big difference from President Trump.
Quite a difference there. Nile Gardiner, all the time we have for this morning, but thank you as always for offering your insight.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
You as well. All right.